It's such a lovely day to read you a beautiful story. A beautiful story about a forced marriage. Ah, what's not to love? Oh, I would put that shit on everything. You wouldn't even know. Good morning, my dear viewer slash listener. It is I, the voice, me, myself, and I. Today is a day for much cheer and joy and all of that sparkly razzle-dazzle stuff that nobody really cares about. But I digress. Before I lose my mind, let us begin, shall we? Today's little ditty was written by P.L. Cobb for the Enigmatic Monster Project. It is called King in the Shadows. And without further ado, dear listener, clear your mind and close your eyes. She stared into the mirror, horrified at where her life was going, horrified by the abuse, the absolution of her personhood. A part of her could have sworn that this had happened 1,000 times before. Somehow she knew that this horrible curse would play itself out till the world crumbled. She was the daughter of a wealthy merchant. What her father lacked in kindness he made up for with riches. Somehow everyone loved him. And somehow they failed to see that he was not a good man. I could kill myself, she thought aloud. They had her locked in a windowless room with 4 guards, 2 on the inside and 2 without. How can you allow my father to do such a thing? She asked the 2 men. She didn't expect any sympathy, or any type of answer for that matter. The men looked brave. They were both big and well-built. In truth, they were terrified. Not of her father, but of his patron. The man's success had never been questioned by outsiders. It was said to be the result of good work ethic. Others would shrug it off, neither knowing nor caring about the business of trading. The reality would have sent them reeling to the church, would have damned the man, and, by proxy, her. To maintain such good relations with his patron, the merchant had given his only daughter to be the bride of the king in the shadows, whose true name was unknown. There were many names for that king and his unholy brethren that she dared not think about. A knock on the door startled her. One of the guards spoke with someone. The words were muffled, but her 2 jailers appeared shaken. Before she could say anything, they left. Her eyes widened with fear. The hallway outside was dark, an unholy, inky darkness that seemed to suck out the candlelight. Then there came the whispering of voices, so numerous they sounded like the rushing of the wind. In desperation, she knocked one of the candles onto the nightstand. She'd gladly burn 1,000 times if it meant freedom in the afterlife. The thought became feeble to her as the wood flared up in a crackling blaze. It was only wishful thinking. The king in the shadows was not from the realm of the living. Still, As the brittle wood was consumed, she managed a quick smirk. She could still deny him. Shadows entered the room, and there was a great gust of wind. In an instant the fire died, and she was bathed in darkness. The remaining candles began to burn again after some time, but the room was like a void. He stood at the center of the room, looming over her. Behind him was his bestial host, all cramming to get into the room. He extended a beckoning hand toward her. "Come." Well, my dear, dear listener, I hope you enjoyed that lovely little story. Who among us does not enjoy a tale of forced marriage to what really seems to be the devil of all things? What could be more exciting than that? I wonder. Oh, yes, I do wonder. Well, listeners, before I go off on another tangent with either myself, me, or I will bid you a farewell, and I shall take a small bow that you shall never see, because I'm just a disembodied voice. I don't have a body. Good night, dear listeners. Good night.